we've already learnt about how matter cycles through the ecosystem, how it gets absorbed by living things, and then when the living things die, those chemicals are released back into the environment again. But what scientists have discovered is that each nutrient or each chemical has a slightly different cycle through the environment. And scientists have figured out how each chemical moves around, and that's really important to help us with things like growing crops and to make sure we don't release too much pollution and interrupt any of these cycles. The two main nutrient cycles, the most important ones, are the water cycle and the carbon cycle. Because living things, these are two of the most important nutrients that we need to survive. So the water cycle, it involves water up in clouds, where water has condensed into a liquid form. And then as that water falls down as rain or snow, we call that precipitation, and the water goes into the ground, on the surface or underground, and then water's taken up by trees, and then it's drunk by animals, and that gets released back into the environment again through transpiration. Plus, some of the water that's in rivers and in the ocean, it evaporates back into the sky, and then it condenses as clouds. So there are a few more details, but that's the basic outline of the water cycle. With the carbon cycle, the main place where carbon is found is as carbon dioxide, or CO2. And a lot of carbon dioxide is up in the atmosphere. So CO2, it is brought into the ecosystem by photosynthesis. So trees and other plants, they take in carbon, and then as the plants get eaten by consumers, some of the carbon goes to the animals, plus some of the carbon is absorbed into the soil as well. And also it's absorbed into the oceans. Then as animals and plants use cellular respiration to break their food down, it releases carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. And over time, some carbon dioxide also is released out of the ocean. And we end up with carbon dioxide back in the atmosphere again. So that's the two main cycles, but we've discovered that every nutrient has its own cycle. So here is the oxygen cycle. This one's the nitrogen cycle. We've also got the phosphorus cycle and sulfur as well. So you can see how complicated some of these cycles are. And we don't need to remember them, but just to be aware that every nutrient moves through the ecosystem in different ways.